we could talk about Jojo Siwa for like a hot second.
Man, that child, dude, the fucking alien bucket is insane.
Have you seen her merch line?
No.
Hold on. It is so. Oh my God. It's like someone who is clearly Gen X goes, like someone's Gen X dad, maybe her dad, was like, man, you know what's cool? Tank tops. let me find this shirt.
No.
It is so, because Alice brought it to my attention. I was like, okay, I guess I have to see it now. Where's her website? Where's her website? But she reminds me of a watching her videos. She's giving me big, like, homeschool kid energy.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I don't really know what edgy means, so I am going to do this stuff and be like, hey, look at me, aren't I edgy? But at the same time, she does it with like the intensity of a gremlin. So it's like, oh my God, guy, you know it's edgy? Look at the way I dance. And I just picture some kid who has never had, like, who thinks his mom is the coolest mom when her mom is just horrid. He's like, yeah, you know, my mom let me have caffeine one time.
Bro. Did you see the, like, new dance thing that she has for whatever that... Bro, it's just as... Oh, here it is. I'm gonna send it. Because everyone's like, this is worse than the karma thing. Oh, God. It's gonna be in Twitter.
Okay, click the link I sent you, and I want you to see the shirts, because one is very wolves howling at the moon. The other one is a tank top that is clearly dad's wore, like dad bikers wore in the 90s, like the same kind of font and design, and the other one is honestly just hilarious to me.
What is this black karma tee that looks like she's making out with herself? Like that she's getting ready for it. That's weird.
Like there just needs to be a moon in the background.
There's a lot going on. Like the first, like the white karma tee is like she wants to be a part of like AC/DC, that era.
Yeah,
of
the Kiss
like
Army. Yeah.
David Bowie doing like his crazy stuff. Like that's what she feels like she wants to be, but then she's like whatever the fuck she is, a Gen X or whatever. And it's just awful. Bro, this child.
And she and the tank top already has holes in it. It's too much.
That's the vibe, Mark. It's
Man.
the motherfucking vibe. Where we just wear hose and our tank top. Dude, she's over here talking about... Did you see the thing where she's like, yeah, I want triplets, but I want to have like the same surrogate from like the same set of sperm?
Yeah.
And that's insane. Like literally, and that she's not going to like carry them herself. Also, how are you supposed to know that it's going to be 3 boys? Because she has that fucking tattoo that's like Huey, Dewey, and Louie ass style. She's crazy. This child is crazy, and she's not even able to legally drink.
Yeah, but
the fact that this kid was
but it
good
sounds like she's been smoking for 20 years.
Dude, for real. The fact that this kid was on Dance Moms and was like one of the better dancers is insane. With the way that like some of her shit's coming out now.
Oh, hold on. Now listen. I'll give credit where credit's due. She's a great dancer. She can dance her ass off. Okay.
Yeah, but what are these fucking dance moves that she's over here trying to make up and trying to make them like a huge thing?
Listen, she's misguided. She's misguided. And hopefully, that whenever her term is up with these PR people that she hired, that is like, man, we need to do a complete image rehaul. Whoever her management team is, whoever. Because they're doing the Christina Aguilera, we're no longer bubblegum pop. And they instead of going, hey, You know, I'm the new Jojo Siwa. I'm putting out something that's a little bit more mature. You know, treating it like an adult, like someone like Mandy Moore did, was like, hey, here's my new album. It's not so much bubblegum stuff. I hope you like it. And then maybe it hits or it misses. Who knows? But they overcorrected. They course corrected too far. They went Christina Aguilera dirty. And now you just look silly. So now the next album, we're going to bring it back a little bit. We're going to call it Redemption or something like that. Bring it back, and then hopefully we haven't done enough damage in this little bit of time that, you know, she's still a viable talent.
We'll see.
So
she really just wants to say some shit to, like, really get a reaction, honestly.
Oh. I mean,
like
she's
the whole,
19.
like, who would you want to, like, talk to on a podcast? And she's like, oh, let's get crazy with it. My ex. And it's just like, what? And then her ex was like, bro. These two teenage girls that are like, I can't stand her. Whatever. We should have totally just had that as part of our...
Oh, no, I'm cutting that whole thing.
Chat.
I'm cutting that whole thing
okay.
into the intro.
Okay.
Don't think I'm not.
God bless. What was that?
So, yeah, how's your week been, Raven?
For some reason, my mic just decided to turn itself off, and I don't know why.
All right, good, because I was curious, and I had to go check on the systems and make sure we were still
How was your week, Raven? Crickets. Oh, wait. How was your week? Sorry.
I don't know if that sound's going to come through or not. For those of y'all that didn't hear anything, it was crickets because Discord's got a new feature, and I don't even know if I hit the button if it'll go over. So,
that'd be so funny. It's going. How about you, ma'am? What's up?
I've gotten to the point where literally the last 3 weeks have, with the exception of the weekends, because I've done kind of fun stuff on the weekends, the weeks are just like, one day it's Monday, and I'm like, God, I'm at work, guys. And then literally the next thing I know, I'm like, oh, man, it's Thursday and or Friday. It just kind of all blends together. And
dude, it's crazy because I feel you on that, especially for like summer. It feels like it has flown past. I literally like go to my clients' houses and I'll be like, okay, our next appointment's going to be in August. And then I'm like, what the heck? How are we already there? Like, I feel like summer just started. It's insane. I can't imagine how these poor kids feel. Where they're literally like, they blink and they're like, oh, we're back in school.
Well, the weird thing is I feel the same way, and I've done a bunch of stuff this summer.
That's fair, yeah.
I mean, July seems like it just flew past. I got back from Hawaii, and I'm like, man, we're almost done with July right now. The kids go back to school in a week.
Are you serious?
10 days, man. They go back next Wednesday.
That's literally crazy.
2 months. They get a 2-month holiday.
I feel like they just got out.
Yeah. So, but it's good because Amy is bored to tears. Every day she's like, Dad, what are we going to do? And I'm like, nothing.
You're like, I'm going to work and you're going to...
Right. I'm like, not every day has to be this big adventure. She's like, why not?
Dude, this kid really wants a Phineas and Ferb life.
She does. She absolutely does. And I
can't blame her though.
And I'm going to convince her to go in the military after high school. And I'm going to be like, listen, you want to go do something? This is your chance. You will have something to do all the time.
Man, you should have been in my life after I graduated. It probably would have been like a good idea to like go into the military and then just like, you know, do some travel. Whatever. But here we are. Oh, you know, I know we were talking music. Have you heard, because she has finally made her debut back into reality of music production, have you heard Kesha's new song, Joyride?
No.
Dude, it's such a freaking bop.
Really?
Like, my friend sent it to me, and she was like, this music is going to be so popular with like drag and it's going to fucking slap. And I was like, okay. So the first time I heard it, I was like, And then at some point I played it for Chris and he was like, that's her new song. And I was like, okay, you have to think about it. And the fact that like the music that Kesha was putting out, she was doing great. But the people that were, in charge of her label were just trash and terrible to her. So now she's able to put out the same kind of music that was getting her a lot of traction, but it's still like so good. You need to listen to it at some point. I drove to Chattanooga on Thursday and I literally had it on repeat for probably I had it on repeat for 10 times. I was just jamming out. It's so fun. It's so, it's a good, poppy song. I'm so glad she's back and that she's able to do her own thing.
All right. Well, I will check it out.
I'm surprised Alice hasn't said anything about it yet, but yeah.
I'm not even sure if she knows about it because usually me and her share oh, hey, have you heard this new song? She's the one who turned me on to the new Jojo Siwa stuff. More because it's hilarious, but no,
so
she's very quick to be like, hey, have you heard this? So
maybe it's not in her realm then. I don't know if it's playing on the radio and stuff, but because Kesha was such during that era, it was big to be that vibe that she had. Lady Gaga was doing her thing, Katy Perry was doing her crazy stuff. We had a lot of that where it was music is bold and it's kind of crazy and it's doing whatever. But I don't know if right now Kesha's song would technically fit in with a lot of what's being played on the radio today, because I honestly don't listen to a lot of the mainstream artists that are going on. I just find a few people that I really like and I'm okay, I'll listen to these guys Chappell Roan, Megan Thee Stallion, Harry Styles, stuff like that. I'll be okay, I like all you guys, come here. And then the rest of the people I'm I have no idea who you are. That Espresso song by whatever her name
Sabrina
is.
Carpenter?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my boo.
I was who the heck is she? And I was it's fun, but where did you come from? Or I didn't know that Renee Rapp, is that her last name?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that she was putting out music and stuff. I just keep seeing these kids pop up and I'm who are you? Where are you coming from?
It only gets worse.
Oh God.
It only gets worse. No, that's a majority of the things I will find, or the kids will start. Well, I'll listen to a song on the radio. Yeah, and Amy will know all the words already. But she's a steel trap like that, which is weird. A new Descendants movie came out a couple weeks ago. Came out on a Friday. On Saturday, we were driving up to Atlanta listening to some of the songs, and she was singing with them. I'm how many times have you heard this song? She's I don't know, a couple. Singing along with it. I'm get out of here. So yeah, she's a straight up. She'll memorize the song in a minute.
That little hamster in her brain is just working overtime all the time. And then she goes to sleep and it's panting in its sleep. It's over there thank God.
I'm about to go back to the early days of the internet. Do you remember a website called hamsterdance.com?
I feel like that sounds familiar.
It was featured in a commercial, and I can't remember what commercial it was, but basically, and we all know these people, where it's man, this is the funniest thing you'll ever hear, and they bring it up, and it was, this is the old websites where it was just be one page on the website, and it would be dancing hamsters, and they would play this song, some high-pitched, catchy song, and it was everywhere, all the time, all at once.
Yeah.
Someone would be hey man, look at this funny site, and then bring it up and just and Yeah. Yeah. So there's that. And that's what I picture her brain doing. Just 1,000 little hamsters. Just, bow, 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 just all dancing in unison. So.
Oh, that sounds so good. That sounds pretty perfect for her, honestly. I like that. That's
All
funny.
right. Well, you ready to talk about this week's movie?
I sure am. Are you ready to talk about the first Back to the Future?
I
What
am.
year did this come out?
1985.
Crazy.
Funny story about this movie. This was, I think, the very first movie I saw in the movie theater. I can't
Really?
remember if it was this or Gremlins because I'm pretty. It was one of these two movies, but I remember seeing this in the theater. And
All right,
5
Mark.
years.
Well, take us back to 1985. Tell us about it.
I think even then, and the many times that I've watched this movie, I just remember being so absolutely fascinated by this because I didn't know what in the hell a DeLorean was, and I thought it was just a fake car made for the movie for a decade. I did not know that a DeLorean was a real car because it basically showed up and disappeared before I had a concept of driving. But this is probably one of my absolute favorite movies. With very few small things, I don't think there is anything I would change about this movie. I absolutely love this movie. And even watching it now for the umpteenth time, it's still just a great movie. I mean, we can really get into the particulars later, but I mean, it's a classic for a reason. So, Raven, what did you think of Back to the Future?
So I was not like young the first time that I watched Back to the Future. Well, relatively young. Like I wasn't a kid when I watched it. The first time that I watched it, I think was like it was either the summer going into my senior year or it was the summer after I graduated and was going to my like freshman year of college. And it was literally on constantly, like the first one, the second one, and the third one.
Oh yeah, they love to show this in a trilogy.
Dude, I cannot tell you how many times I watched it in that one summer. It was legitimately insane. And for whatever reason, I just kept being like, oh, Back to the Future's back on. Yeah, I'm going to watch it. But it's like such a good movie for its time. Like, it's not crazy out there. And I love the fact that it's not like, once again, if it were today, it'd be like the most insane, like CG, like all that stuff. And I really just like that this one's just like, it's a little out there, but it's still like a fun plot and it really just keeps you engaged. Also, you gotta love Doc because like the crazy scientist friend that you're just like, yeah, this old guy, I just hang out with him sometimes and we do some weird stuff. Like going back in time.
I wanted a real life Doc in my life.
True.
This was... All right, first off, it's important to note that I thought Christopher Lloyd was the oldest person on planet Earth when I saw this movie. He was 46 when he filmed this movie.
Dude.
I don't know how this man has looked 60 the past 35 years. I do not understand it. But you commented like right before we started the show that about how old
photo of him.
Right, you found like a recent IMDb picture of him, and he looks like super old. He just looks slightly skinnier than he did in Back to the Future. That's pretty much it. I think most recently that people would recognize, like notice something that he's been in was he was in an episode of The Mandalorian a couple years ago, and he was great. Oh. And I was like, man, he's still got it. like I remember watching. I was like, holy shit, that's Christopher Lloyd. But this was the movie for me that when I saw, just it spawned so many great catchphrases, and I'm a sucker for catchphrases that aren't catchphrases. Like I'm the guy who's like, oh crap, why is my mind drawing a blank? He said a couple things during this when I'm like, oh yes, that is something that I will absolutely take with me. You know, everyone talks about the 1.21 gigawatts, which, oh boy, we're going to talk about that as an electrician. Because I've done as I was watching this, because I've seen this so many times, I'd be like, I would go and look up specific trivia in this movie that probably no one else has looked up. So, yeah, I guess we'll get there as we kind of come across it. But I don't know. What did you think? Let's just start from the beginning. I guess we're going to jump around, but
fair.
One of the most iconic things about this movie that I distinctly remember as a kid was him turning on that big ginormous speaker, and he's like flipping, like now as an adult, and he's flipping circuit breakers and turning keys, and I'm like, what are the keys for? And he's just he's cranking this thing up, and he cranks everything up to maximum. And as a kid, I was like, oh, yeah, this is gonna be awesome.
Dude, they're like over there with like the Jurassic Park level of like, this is all like the most like extreme security like stuff to try and get everything to work just right. Like that kind of shit. Like if you miss one little step, you're like, nope, everything's gone.
And we get the right after that, he walks out and he starts riding he's skateboarding and he's holding on to the back of a pickup truck. And I want you to know that until I was about 20 years old, I was like, that is a great idea.
Bro, no. The first time I watched that, I was like, that's scary. I'm glad that you and I had like absolutely different brain thoughts, because I was, first of all, I'd be like, you would just get hit. You would, like, something bad would happen. That's how my mind goes.
Oh, not me. I was absolutely like, yes.
I'm always the person that's like, this is like every step that could possibly happen, that you could get hurt, you could die, you're somehow going to lose an arm, you know, that kind of thing.
No,
anyways,
I tried to beg my dad to be like, no, you just drive and just let me just ride behind you, because I had a Back to the Future skateboard for years. Rode it so much until I broke it.
That's cute.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was super cool. Like I really love this movie. This is such a fun, dumb, great movie. Fun piece. First fun piece of trivia. I think we covered this in the Gremlins episode. This Hill Valley set is the same set that's used on Gremlins, and the same set is called the Mockingbird set, because it was used on How to Kill a Mockingbird, on the back Universal lot is where quote unquote Hill Valley is.
Yeah. Okay.
So, yeah.
Very nice.
We get a cameo from Huey Lewis in the beginning of the movie. He's one of the judges, and they play a Huey Lewis song. Another fun piece of trivia here for you kids. Huey Lewis was like, before this, said, I will never do another Hollywood soundtrack. I think, I can't remember which one it was. Maybe it was Ghostbusters that burned him. But there was he was like, I'm definitely not doing any more movie soundtracks. And Robert Zemeckis came up and said, yo, we're big fans. What you think? Here's a whole bunch of money. And they said, cool, we got one sitting in the back burner called Back in Time. You ready? He's like, yep, but we also want Power of Love. So yeah.
Nice. Look at you with all your little trivias.
I mean, at this point, I think we don't really need to go frame by frame like we usually do with newer movies, where we're like, oh yeah, and then this happened, and then this happened. this movie's been around so much. I feel like it's so much of an institution now.
Yeah.
That
It's very iconic, to be
right.
honest.
And I'm
Like,
more kind of curious to hear your thoughts on some of this stuff because the age difference is so much between us. Because, like I said, I saw the original screening of this, and you didn't see it until I don't know, last year when you graduated high school because you're so young.
thanks.
Which I can't say that because then that makes Chris look like a creeper.
Technically, I've been graduated for 9 years. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyways,
What did you think? What did you think of watching it now and seeing just Biff as a character in general?
bro, I hated Biff. Like, he's just like this big, dumb meathead. Like, even the first time I watched it, I was like, what is... Like, you know those characters that they always just make to be bullies just to be bullies, and you're just like, what's your end goal in life, man? Like, do you have, like, a real plan to be, like, anything? Or is it just to forever be, like, the biggest jerk?
Yeah, it's so weird because it's like his profession, his personality is bully.
Yeah.
That's it. You know, he still
It's
treats
like,
he still treats grown George like they're still in high school, and I'm like, I don't know who's worse in this situation.
yeah. It's like when Ken's like, I'm Beach. Biff is just like, I'm bully.
Right.
My job is bully.
And I want to say that Leah Thompson, when they show her as an adult, you know, mom Lorraine, and she's got on all the fat makeup,
the face prosthetics and stuff that like give her all the lines, but it looks like you can see where they were going for it, but it still looks like a little creepy to look at.
It does. I also want to point out that Leah Thompson had a big crush on her back in the day. Still do, as a matter of fact, because I looked her up now. You know, she's Leah Thompson. She's all over the place. But I wanted to say she looks incredible still at 63. She was absolutely gorgeous in this movie. And I still think even now she is absolutely stunning. Age 63, incredible. Incredible.
Oh yeah, I'm looking at her photo now. She does still look really good for her age.
And there was this great scene where, you know, the first time we see him, where she is talking about the story, you know, of how they got together and the thing. And this is such a great piece of acting from her that I think is hid underneath all of that prosthetics and everything else that's going on. But she really tells this really kind of heartwarming story about how she and George met and how they got together. And it's really sweet. And she just kind of looks at George and he's just this buffoon.
Yeah.
And they say this great line later where it's like, how did you even have kids? You know, because George is just this wild loser.
Dude, those are always like, I feel like you see a lot of that in comedy where you're like, bro, she was like banging and he was just the goofball that like somehow got the attention just enough to be like, hey, look, I'm just silly enough that like even if I'm not like the hottest thing ever, like I'll make you laugh at least.
Right.
Yeah, one of those types of things.
And something else I noticed this time too is that I know that they set up a lot of callbacks and reveals later on, you know, where we set up stuff in 1985 and it comes back later or whatever. Watching it this time, I don't know if it's because I was paying more attention to it or I know kind of more of the lore of this franchise and I'm watching it now. They set up and execute so many great things. Everything from, and it all seems kind of cliche now, where it's, I guess because we've done it so much over the past 35 years since this movie's come out, where we're like, oh yeah, yeah, sure. We set it up and we come back to it. This movie is very well written in the fact of like, we're going to set something up and then we're going to call back to it later. And it may not be an overt kind of thing, but if you know what you're looking for, you'll see it. Mm-hmm. And it could be something as very subtle as it goes from Twin Pines Mall to Lone Pines Mall.
Yeah.
At the end, or how they set up, Uncle Joey's not getting out of prison. Just so many different things, and just really good writing. Really good.
Yeah. So true, bestie.
So when you first saw this, did you know what a DeLorean was, besides the Back to the Future car?
Probably not, to be honest. I might have heard my grandfather talk about it, because my grandfather's like big into cars, and he used to like work in a shop and whatever. But if you had been like, hey, have you seen that the person down the road has a DeLorean? I'd be like, what the fuck are you talking about? But now, if you see one, you're like, oh my god, it's the car.
Right, it's clearly a Back to the Future
iconic
car.
Yeah.
They've become so synonymous with one another that you can't be like, oh, hey, there's a DeLorean, and not think of Back to the Future. And vice versa.
Even though they, like, is it the most, like, aesthetic car? No. But, like, they're still cool.
What's so wild is I think in a different world that maybe one day the Cybertruck will be the new DeLorean. Just because they're both like that stainless steel, they're both goofy cars.
Somehow I knew you were going to say that.
Well, I mean the DeLorean is the grandmother of the Cybertruck, clearly.
With the Lambo doors.
Right. I can't even imagine having that in a garage and trying to get out. And you're just like, oh, I can't even lift up my doors.
Dude, I don't know.
Man.
Like it looks cool. I'm looking at a photo of it. Ew, what is that one? Yep. It looks cool. Not that one, though. But, dude, were they trying to remake the DeLorean in 2023?
Yeah.
It looks like they were trying to.
Do you remember in the last Fast and Furious movie when Cypher pulls up in that wildly lit up car? Mm-hmm. That was a DeLorean.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. It was an all-electric DeLorean.
That's crazy. Look at it. The DeLorean's coming full circle back into the medias.
So, let's see. We get where are we at in the movie? I'm scrolling through my notes here. We're at the point now. We're back at the mall. We do the test run. It's wild. We start talking gigawatts, 1.21 gigawatts. The Libyans show up out of nowhere. They shoot Doc. We see if this bastard can do 90. And I really genuinely don't know why Marty was like, oh, hey, I'm rolling around in this DeLorean. Let me see if I can do 90 in this car that clearly I need to go 88 miles an hour in. But, great funny scene where these country hillbillies are like, oh man, it's a mutating monster. Get out of my barn, you monster. When we get into town and we see all the craziness happening, we run into young Biff's gang for the first time. Did you notice that one of those guys was Billy Zane?
Who?
You don't know who Billy Zane is?
Nope.
Okay.
American actor Billy Zane. No, sorry.
Okay. All right. He's been in a few movies here and there.
Was he the lover of Rose in the Titanic?
Yes.
Okay.
He was also in Tales from the Crypt, Devil's Night. He was also in He's been in a few kind of big profile things. But this is one of his early acting gigs. I love how each one of his Biff's bullies has a personality very much like Ken, where it's like, I saw a 3D movie, I am 3D bully. Billy Zane is like, I like matches and I smoke. I'm going to constantly have match and they're going to call me Match Bully. And the other guy's like, I have no hair. I am Skinhead Bully.
Oh.
It is so funny to me. This like, that's their personalities. Give them bit parts. That's it.
Of course.
And
they don't need real, like, personalities. Just make sure you know that they're kind of a dick.
Right.
That's all you need to know.
And when we're in the diner, when we first meet young George in the diner and Biff shows up and whatever, is Georgia eating, like, cereal in the diner?
Hey, maybe that was the thing back then. They were like, my mom will not buy us cereal because it's got the sugars. So now we gotta eat the sugars only in the diner. Dude, that's like such a thing that people, like parents didn't like buy cereal because they were like, oh, it's all just like sugar and processed. You should be eating, eggs and a hearty breakfast to keep you full. That sugar stuff's it's gonna melt your brain.
Let me tell you a story. Related story. When Alice was probably, I don't know, 2 years old, we were living out of town, and we came to town to visit one day, and we stayed with Kelly's parents. And one morning I wake up and I walk out, and Alice comes running up to me. It's 8 o'clock in the morning with an ice cream in her hand. One of those drumstick ice creams. And I'm like, what are you doing? She's like, Dad, as soon as I walk out of the door, Dad, Grandpa gave me ice cream. And I'm like, what? And she's like, yes. And she, she's amped because she's 2 and gets ice cream. And I look over at him and I go, what is going on? And he goes, well, I mean, it's got just about as much sugar as them sugar cereals anyway. And I'm like, Harvey, you cannot give my 2-year-old ice cream for breakfast, man. He's like, well, I mean, I don't see the difference. I'm like, oh, man. And I go back in the bedroom. Kelly's just waking up. I'm like, your dad gave our 2-year-old ice cream for breakfast. She goes, he did what? Oh, it's got just about as much sugar as sugar cereals. So word got back around to her mom, my mother-in-law, and she let Grandpa have it. She was not thrilled about that.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
That sounds like the most like grandpa type thing too.
Yeah, it absolutely was. It absolutely was. I cannot wait to do that.
Dude, I know that there were like times when I would wake up on like a Saturday and like my grandparents were like still laying in bed and I was like, I'm hungry. And my grandfather would like walk out because he was always the first one up. And he'd just be like, I don't know, get you a snack of some chips or something. I would literally be eating Doritos as a breakfast. Like just sitting there in one of the recliners watching like Disney or something, just like munching on Doritos. And I would just keep going. And then by the time like my grandparents are like, okay, time to start cooking breakfast, I'm like, I ate an entire bag of Doritos. I don't need breakfast. And he was just like, I didn't let her do that. That was very much a thing. He would just be like, don't tell your mom I did that. So that's totally a grandpa thing. Love it.
When we get to the bird watching scene and we realize that George is a peeping Tom, falls out of the tree.
Ooh.
Marty saves him, gets hit by a car. This is how I know that we have watched too many movies on this podcast. Did you notice anything familiar about that neighborhood that they were in?
No? Question mark?
See,
Maybe I wasn't paying attention.
I saw it And it was weird because it was the establishing shot where Marty first runs into the neighborhood and he stops. He's looking around because he's trying to find George. And the shot's only like maybe a second, maybe two. And I'm like, huh, that looks weird. That looks like the same neighborhood from Teen Wolf.
Nice.
So I did a little internet digging. It turns out that Lorraine's house in Back to the Future and Micheal J Fox's house, can't remember character's name, in Teen Wolf is the exact same house. It was filmed in the exact same neighborhood. It's in Pasadena, California. I would give the address, but it's on the internet. Look it up. It's not for sale. Last sold in 2003. Zestimate on it is $2.6 million. Built in 1909.
Damn.
Told you. Deep dive. Deep dive.
2.2 million for something built in 1909. And
Actually, when it was sold in 2003, it was 1.6, I think. Now they're estimating it can go for $3 mil.
Jesus, but it's only because it was like this house has been in movies before.
No, all the other houses around it are the same price.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Jesus.
Yes. And I guarantee now they can probably get 3.5 for it because it's been in movies.
Yeah.
So.
Like one movie, you're like, yeah, okay, we can do it. But like, it's like how in Breaking Bad, people would continue to throw pizzas on the house.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like that house could definitely go for some money. Like, big houses like that.
Yeah. Well, the Goonies had... have we done Goonies on this show?
No.
The Goonies house is... They sold that recently for some absurd amount of money, and the guy who bought it has turned it into an Airbnb. But it's this house that's in Astoria, Oregon, that... had it not been in Goonies, would not be
just
anywhere.
Be a house.
Right, just be a house.
That's crazy.
There was the scene where Lorraine meets Marty for the first time, and she is lost in the sauce of Marty McFly. When she goes, your underwear was purple. Like, this is the most scandalous thing that she's ever heard about in her entire life. And she was ready. And Marty McFly's first response when he sees his mom, he goes, "Look, you're so young. You're so fine, but skinny." Like, he almost called his mom, like, fine.
Right?
And I'm like, man, dude.
Hey, man. Take a chill pill. Take a breather. I know you just woke up because you had like a little hit by some car. But that's your mom you're looking at. And at some point you had to have seen like some photo of your mom back in the day.
Right.
So you're just being a little weird at this point. You do you, but
right.
Your mom's now a little, as you said, lost in the sauce of Marty McFly. A little looking seductively,
and
temptingly.
And the thing that's weird is that in the inverse of this is that I understand that she's got the hots for him because she doesn't know him.
Yeah, of course.
Like, she's like, oh man, to her it's like, there's this hot boy who's in my room and this is the best day of my life. And Marty wakes up and is just like flummoxed.
Yo, mom was pretty hot.
Yeah, yo, dog. If you wasn't my mom.
My mom was banging in the younger days. Whew. Bro.
So, and this begs the question is I want to know what she did when George fell. Like, in the timeline where George got hit by the car. Was she like all handsy and stuff with him too?
Ew.
Did she undress him too and see that George was like packing a rocket down there and she's like, yes.
Yo, I'm about to snatch that thing up. Thank you. Dude, I don't know. Like, it's just weird to think about. Like, why wouldn't her parents be the one to be like, The fact that she's over there like, I saw your underwear. Girl, go lay on the couch.
Yeah, go take a cold shower somewhere.
Like, you do not need to be up in this child's face. In either of their faces.
They're both
to
children.
Be like, hello? You're also a child? Because they're like, what, this movie? 16?
I mean, like 17, 18, give or take a little bit. Like they are probably junior, seniors in high school where they're supposed to be. And to be fair, this is nowhere egregious as Teen Wolf was. Where there's like 40-year-olds trying to play teenagers. You know, everyone looks... The only person who really looks not their age is probably Biff.
Yeah.
But I can excuse that with, like, Biff has clearly failed a grade or two.
Oh, yeah.
So he's he's probably older than the rest of them. But I think it's also like, you know, he's like 6'4" or something. He's supposed to be this intimidating person. So, and let me say, because we're talking about Biff, Tom Wilson, who played Biff, and Biff is a wild character because he's constantly harassing Lorraine and grabbing her and doing all this stuff and just being just outright rapey and a bully and just a public nuisance.
He's gross.
Tom Wilson acted the shit out of this. I got to give credit where credit's due. This man has made just the quintessential bully character in Biff, and is so wild that now this guy is doing bit acting work and doing voiceover stuff and stand-up comedy, which is great. But Biff is such a... I love a good villain, and Biff is a very good villain.
Yeah, you're right. Even if he is, like, a little gross, a little dumb.
Yeah.
He does do a good villain.
Right.
So that's fair.
And, yeah, and that's what he's supposed to be. So, I mean...
Yeah.
You know, I'm trying to think here. What do I... Oh, the skateboard scene at the diner. When I tell you that this scene had... an everlasting effect on a young Mark, this was the absolute coolest thing that I remember seeing as a kid. When he rips that kid's skateboard, I was like, hey, you broke it. And all of a sudden, Micheal J Fox gets to work. Man, he rides on the back of cars. He jumps up. He's got sparks coming up from his skateboard. And I was enthralled. There was nothing cooler than this. I wanted to figure out how to put sparks on the back of my Back to the Future skateboard. And ride around on the back of my dad's truck.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of things that, like, you know, it's a different time period for Marty to then be like, yo, this is what it's going to be like in the future, and I'm going to just, like, show them the coolest shit ever. Like, the part where he, like, starts riffing on the guitar, and everyone's like, what the fuck is he doing? And he's like, your kids are going to love it. And they're all just like, I mean, I guess it was kind of cool.
Right.
But he's, like, out there just like, this is my time period, but you people, y'all know shit yet. It's about to get lit. Can you imagine? Just, like, in the way that, like, Alice talks today. Can you imagine, like, Marty McFly being like, yo, it's gonna be bussin'. This meal, Mrs. Lorraine's mom, I don't remember whatever Lorraine's last name is, but, like, this meal's bussin'. It's super, like, or I don't even know how to talk the stupid lingo. Fuck, I can't even do the bit. I'm sorry. Cut that out.
No, I'm going to leave it in. No, I get what you're saying. Like, what's Alice's future in like slang and I think about this a lot. I think about specifically in 20, 30 years, what slang, lingo, whatever is still going to be popular. And the funny thing is Alice is, she's like, oh no, all this is going to, we're going to be using these slangs and everything forever. No, you're not. You absolutely won't. I can promise you that, because every time I say word, I get looked at cross-eyed.
That's so crazy to me, though, because I say that. I'm like, word.
Yeah. And
like, some of it just in a sense, makes sense. And it's like, yo, this is still, like, a fun way to say something that, like, I guess not everyone necessarily says, but, like, I'll say stuff sometimes to my clients that I'm like, this is a weird thing. Should I be saying this to clients? But then clients will, like, say, like, because I do have, like, a lot of, like, older women, and some of them, they'll, like, say some stuff to me that I'm like, oh, you're kind of cool. What's up? Like, I would like to hang out with you. Just in, like, hearing the way that some people talk.
Yeah.
And just hearing that, like, one of my regular clients, she was definitely a hippie. And just listening to her talk now, I'm like, this is insane.
I feel like it would be a disservice, because we have been talking a lot about everybody except for 1955 Christopher Lloyd. Christopher Lloyd is fantastic in this movie. He is a delight, and I loved that he goes from this really eccentric crackpot scientist with a big thing on his head, like, here's a crazy invention, and it's and then by the end of the movie, 1955 Doc is like clearly already turned into this father figure for Marty. They're pals, it's really cool. And somehow figures out how he can send Marty back to 1985 with a bolt of lightning. Props to him with 1955 technology.
Right?
But I figure this is as good a time as any is to talk about gigawatts. So
go ahead. Go for it.
For those who don't know, there's no such thing as a gigawatt. A gigawatt is a mispronunciation of the term gigawatt. If I looked this up specific, more trivia that I looked up. Apparently the writers and the filmmakers talked to a couple different scientists, electricians, electrical engineers, whatever. And there was one guy who mispronounced the gigawatt instead of using the hard G and used the soft G, the J sound. Gigawatt is kind of a goof. But he consistently made that goof. And the people who didn't know any better wrote it down and was like, oh, it's gigawatt. And thus it was cemented in history as a fake term of 1.21 gigawatts. And I looked up how much actually is 1.21 gigawatts of electricity. So, your standard light bulbs you have in your house, like a 100-watt light bulb? 1.21 gigawatts of 100-watt light bulbs would be 10 million light bulbs.
Jeez. That's a lot to power that DeLorean.
A bolt of lightning can sometimes produce way more than 1.21 gigawatts of power. And how many houses can 1 gigawatt of power power? Well, 1 gigawatt is roughly the size of 2 coal-fired power plants and is enough energy to power 750,000 homes.
Oh. Bro, where was Doc getting this shit from? What black market
lightning and plutonium. This man ripped off Libyan terrorists to get a crate of plutonium. There was a scene when they first hook up the camcorder to the TV, and Christopher Lloyd's looking at himself. He's like, look at how old I am. And my first thought was, sir, you look the exact same.
It's so crazy. Like, how are your genes like? It's not even like that you look young. It's that you literally look the exact same.
Right. And
it's kind of...
And what's so wild is, I want to say up until probably fairly recently, probably up until about 7-8 years ago, he looked the exact same as he did in the Back to the Future movies. Like,
I'm not surprised.
He has looked 60 my entire life. And that is so crazy to me. I see pictures of him when his hair was darker, when he was on Taxi or in the Star Trek movies. And I'm like, I don't know who this man is, because this is clearly not Christopher Lloyd.
Right.
But, yeah. I was like,
Bro.
Sir, at best, they quote unquote younged you up by like 5 years.
Oh. Not the younged up.
So,
Young?
what did you think Enchantment Under the Sea dance? Where we finally get George to stand up to the bullies, and Micheal J Fox plays the guitar, and Chuck, this is your cousin Marvin Berry.
Dude, that little bit was just like so fun. I love it. I know that they like did that Family Guy too at one point, and like when I saw that bit, that even still made me laugh in Family Guy. I was like, damn it.
It's such a corny thing.
Yeah.
Because it's just, I don't know, but that honestly is so out of place in this movie, because this whole movie seems like a really kind of insular thing. It has no effect on anything outside of itself, for the most part. So, yeah, he introduces them to like heavy metal and all this, but like nothing that's going to affect the world at large. And this is the only thing that does, quote unquote, I guess. And it just seems very out of place. Yeah, it's weird. I get a weird feeling every time I see it. Like, Marvin, you know that new sound you're looking for? So, yeah.
The kids are going to love it. That's all you have to know.
I determined that George McFly, as the kids say, has that dog in him. When he punches out Biff, I was like, yeah, still, like, this is like the absolute perfect bully moment. Like, oh, yeah, fuck you, Biff, you jerk. And then 3 minutes after that, they're dancing, and this other bully comes up. He's like, get out of here, McFly. And then that's when I realized that Lorraine is the Princess Peach of this universe. She is...
Bro.
She is the standing damsel in distress at all times.
That is so funny.
It's just like, no, I don't want to dance with you, nerd. Let me go back to George. And she's just like, George, oh no, so helpless. Oh my God. You know, and I'm like, you could slap this skinny kid across the face and he is not going to do nothing. Biff, I understand. He's like 6'4", 250, all muscle. I get it. But this kid, just smack him across the face, Lorraine. No.
It's so interesting for you to say that she is like the Princess Peach, when like, yeah, she's cute, but do you think like she's the hottest shit in the school that everyone's just like, yo, Lorraine could get it? Like, why?
I don't know, because
like, is it just like that nerdy back then? It's like everyone's just like, whoa, I don't know. Like, just like looking at it, or like thinking back to it, it's just like, what? Like, yeah, she's cute. But like, I feel like the girls that like most of the time it would be like that are like super, like, above the standard of, like, you know,
Yeah. And,
like, they're hot shit.
right, like the head cheerleader.
Yeah.
Something like that. And yeah, we don't get any kind of indication that she is the super popular one. The girl that all the guys want or anything like that. Biff clearly has a thing for her, but we don't get the sense that, like, you know, she's this uncatchable unicorn of a girl. So, I don't know.
I don't blame her for not wanting to be with Biff, though, because, like, obviously, like, he's gross.
Well, yeah,
Biff
Biff
so,
is
like,
openly harassing her in the lunchroom.
Dude, where are the teachers? Where are your teachers?
This is the 50s.
Where's the principal? Dude, for real, though. He just get a little grope in. It's cool. We all do it sometimes. Sir? Principal?
And I want to say that after George knocked Biff out, this man elevated in status. Again, to steal from my kids, he got the Riz. Immediately.
That man is straight Rizzler.
Immediately, they're dancing on the floor like, "Hey, man, I heard you knocked Biff out. You ever think of running for class president?" Like that. That's a quick escalation. Right? This man knocked one guy out and elevated his status so hard. George Risley Barron. I cannot say it with a straight face.
George, rizzle me that, McFly.
Oh, God.
Jeez. That was... Thank you. Thank you for that.
Do you think in the timeline that George and Lorraine had a very stern conversation when Marty showed up as their kid, you know, years later down the road and was like, why does this kid look exactly like the Marty we knew in high school? Lorraine, do you have something you want to tell me?
Right. Or do you think that, like, they got, like, stagnant and they just kind of, like, forgot about it?
I don't know.
Because, you know, I'm just saying, like, if I were to see, you know, if I'm thinking back to, like, high school and in, like, 10 years down the road, like, one of the people that I, like, know has a kid that looks like someone that I went to high school with, like, I would be like, you know, you look familiar, but, like, I couldn't put a name to it.
Yeah, I suppose.
So I'm kind of like, it could be. They could literally just be like, you look so darn familiar. I really like the name Marty, though. Let's give him Marty.
Yeah, I mean, it could be that way. You know, they went to school.
It's called movie magic.
They went to school in the 50s, presumably graduated mid-50s, didn't have Marty until the mid-60s. That kind of tracks. You know, so he is, I could see them being, I mean, because in the timeline of this movie, Marty's only there for like a week.
Yeah,
so I could see them being like, oh yeah, you know, like we like Marty, and Marty, like we remember the story of Marty, but we can't remember what Marty looks like, because it's not like they can just pull out their phones and be like, oh yeah, here's some pictures I got.
Unless Lorraine's over there, like, dreaming of the hot Marty that lived on her bed for a moment. Never let you go, Marty.
So I noticed something this time that I never noticed before. When Marty writes the letter to Doc saying that he was going to die on the night he traveled back in time, and Doc gets upset with him, and he rips up the letter. I noticed this time that he never threw the letter away. He pockets it.
Well, of course.
Because at the same time, you know, the lightning knocks down the tree or whatever. But I thought for years that he just threw it into the wind and it disappeared, and he eventually found the pieces. But he pockets it. And then the more I thought about it, I was like, wait a second. Of course, he was eventually going to read that letter because he's a scientist. He's curious about the world.
Yeah.
He wants to know. He can't
Well,
help.
yeah. Sorry.
Oh no! And because when there's a scene when Marty shows back up to Doc's place, he's watching that scene from the tape where he's like, I don't know how they found me, but they found me. Run for it, Marty! And he keeps rewinding and rewinding and rewinding and watching that same thing again. So he knows something's happening.
Mm-hmm. Dude, you know, he totally, like, what he probably did was, like, he ripped it up and then he's like, put it in my pocket. Whatever, I'll throw it away later. Maybe he's like, I'm going to burn it so nobody can, like, look at it. Something like that. But then he gets to, like, really being like, man, what if it's actually something super important? And so then he's just, like, toying with it. I feel like that's the thing, is that he's really just like, but what if it's, like, important? Although, I feel like, yeah, like, I get it. Well, actually, never mind. I was going to be like, he could have stopped 9/11, but we're a little too early for that.
We're way early for that.
You know, there's other things they could have stopped. Some assassinations and whatnot.
Right.
But, you know, we went for Doc, of course. But, I mean, then he was wearing his little bulletproof vest and everything was, like, Gucci and he's not dead. So we love to see that.
Yeah.
And that's how we go on to number 2 and number 3, and we go into the Wild Wild West, and there's trains.
This is a perfect segue to my last question. Like,
thank you.
You gave me the perfect segue. Do you think that this should have been a one and done movie? Because watching it now, and as much as I enjoy the second and third one,
mm-hmm.
I personally think we could have stopped at this one and been perfectly all right.
Yeah, but like this one probably made so much money.
Oh, it did.
That of course they were like, why not take it a step further? And then when they went to number 3 with the Wild West and the fucking train, that's when they were like, hey, we should probably stop at this point.
Oh, like, yeah. This movie
is a really good one.
This movie cost $20 million to make.
Oh my God.
Which is pretty big for 1985. It made $388 million. That's a $1 billion movie nowadays.
Damn. That's pretty good. Yeah. They absolutely were like, fuck it, second one. Isn't it just like Back to the Future 2? Like, there's not like, because I feel like a lot of the times they'll like, you know, Back to the Future 2, Electric Boogaloo, like that kind of thing. But I'm pretty sure it's literally just like Back to the Future 2, and Back to the Future 3.
Yeah.
Which is kind of crazy when you like think about it. Because even like, well, I guess Ghostbusters 2 didn't have a like special name. Maybe, is that like more common nowadays? Now that I'm thinking about it? Because I feel like a lot of movies in like the 70s, 80s, and 90s, they were like 1, 2, 3, and just kept going on. Whereas now it's like, oh, you get like, if you do have like the original name, they also give like a little like spin-off. Like,
yeah, they give
Pirates
you
of the Caribbean
subtitle.
Whatever, yeah. I don't know. Anyway, sorry.
So I did the math real quick. Ran it through the old calculator Matron. $388 million is now $1.1 billion. Yeah, it is absolutely $1 billion movie, and it absolutely spawns the next 2 movies just based on the success of the first one.
Oh, yeah.
So, but
how much did the second one make then?
But the last line of dialogue of this movie is absolutely one of my most favorite lines that I still say. I think I used it last week when we went to Atlanta, we get in the car, and just out of the blue, like the kids didn't set me up for it or anything. I was just like, where we're going, we don't need roads. And flip my sunglasses down, hit the button on the garage door, we backed out of the driveway. That's one of those sayings that I picked up, and I'm like, yep, this is it. This is I will use this for the rest of my life.
Well, that's like, once again, it's iconic.
Yes.
But of course your girls are like, what? Like, especially, I feel like especially Amy, she's like, what do you mean we don't need roads? We're in the truck.
Well, I don't have anything. You got anything else for Back to the Future?
On a scale of 1 to 10 DeLoreans with the Lambo doors, what would you rate it?
Between a what and a what?
1 to 10 DeLoreans with the Lambo doors. How many DeLoreans would you give it?
Oh, man. I think I give it... I don't know. I think I got to give it nine DeLoreans with Lamborghini doors.
Damn.
Yeah, this is really close to like almost a perfect movie for me. Like this is really close to it.
That's fair.
So,
the rating on it for IMDb is 8.5 out of 10,
which is incredible.
Pretty high, especially for a movie in the 80s.
Right. And especially for IMDb, because they will downvote a movie quicker than anything. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with the TV show The Acolyte that's on Disney Plus. It's the new Star Wars movie that's taken the world by storm. Or excuse me, Star Wars TV show that's taken the world by storm. And after the first 2 episodes, people went onto IMDb and started review bombing it. And I think it's sitting at like a 3 something.
Oh, God.
Yeah. And this was why a couple weeks ago or last week, I can't remember when, but I posted on Twitter, was like, yeah, man, like no one hates Star Wars more than Star Wars fans.
True.
Because the show is great. I don't care what these nerds are saying. This is a great show. It's good, solid, quality Star Wars. And... is it Empire? No, not everything's going to be Empire Strikes Back. Is this good Star Wars? Yes. Do I want it to be more than 8 episodes? Yes. I think that is probably the biggest problem all these Star Wars shows are having now is we rush and rush and rush and rush to fit everything that we want to fit into 8 episodes, 8 half-hour episodes, give or take a little bit. And then by the end of it, I'm like, I need more. This is ridiculous. We should, I need more story.
Well, I feel like that's just kind of a thing with Disney now, is they're like trying to rush to put everything out possible.
Right.
They're like, oh, we just gave you the show. Quick, we got to give them another show. Otherwise, they're going to become disinterested and the franchise is going to die.
Mm-hmm.
And you're just like, no, just like let them chew on it for like a year, and then maybe like give us a new season the following year. But instead they're like, we gave you this one show, now here's another show a month later, and there's another show to a different to the Marvel stuff, and another show to the Marvel stuff also. It's like insane.
Yeah, dude,
I feel like I can't go on Disney Plus because there's always like so much new stuff. And I feel like it would stress me out. Just to be like, what am I supposed to watch here?
It's not even as bad as it was 2 years ago. I think it was, where literally all year it was Disney, a Disney show, Marvel show, or excuse me, Marvel Star Wars. And they alternated like that all throughout the year. So by the end of the year, we had like three, maybe 4 different Marvel shows, or Star Wars shows or whatever. And I was like, man, like it's pretty good because it started with like WandaVision and then like Mandalorian, and we got a few other things wrapped up in there. And I'm like, okay, like cool, but let's take a break, dude. Because,
Yeah.
WandaVision and Loki and bam, 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 bam. No, let it sit. Let it breathe, man. Let it breathe. Just give us about 12, 13 episodes. Take your time with it. Let's just enjoy this. And then let's not get anything else of this particular series for, another year when the next season time rolls around. And then give us another 13, 14, 15 episodes.
Yeah,
No.
absolutely. Oh, on another note, did you know that Cartoon Network Studios got shut down?
See, I heard that.
Isn't that fucked up?
I looked it up, and I'm getting conflicting reports.
Are you really? Oh.
I am.
I got my news source from Christopher. So, it could be wrong. Who knows?
So, because I saw that, and I looked it up, and the according to the Economic Times, it says that these claims are false. They have that. That's not to say that Warner Brothers has been doing weird and wild things with the Cartoon Network, like taking shows that once were a part of HBO Max or whatever it's called now, taking them off of the streaming service, which is weird. They've sold off some of the back catalog of Cartoon Network stuff, again, which is weird. So I don't think they're handling Cartoon Network property good at Warner Brothers.
Gotcha.
So
that's sad.
It's wild to me because it seems like there's someone who's in charge over at Warner Brothers now who is probably our parents' age, who doesn't know what to do with cartoons, and is like, no, they're for kids. We're not going to watch cartoons because they're for kids. And there's all of these adults like myself and you who are like, no, these are great shows. I would love to have a place where I could watch all of these shows that I love and grew up watching. And I would almost want to get that Max subscription if I knew that I could watch stuff like Kids Next Door and Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy and Chowder and Courage the Cowardly Dog and Johnny Bravo and all of these things that were these great cartoons that I enjoyed growing up. Instead, they take them off. I think there was something more recent too that they took off. And I was like, wow, why would they do that? And I think it might have been Steven Universe. I may be wrong.
Really?
But it was something that had a loyal enough fan base. I'm like, you are messing up big time, sir.
Dude, it better not be Adventure Time. I was binging Adventure Time for a little bit. I need to get back on it.
But it's so weird to me that they would do something like this. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So wild. So crazy.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on. Our next part, favorite part of the week. Talk about it every week. We'll do things and we'll get all happy and stuff and we'll be thankful about things. No. This part of the week where we talk about the things that has made us happy the previous week. Celebrate the little victories. Not everything has to be big and amazing and fantastic. Let's just be happy. Raven, what has made you happy this week?
I got an extra day off work.
Yeah,
I was off Friday. So that was nice. Although it really screwed with my sleep schedule. So that was fun. I think I've told you about how normally on Sundays, I'm like, it's sleep day. That was Saturday for me. And my body was so confused. I literally woke up at almost like 15 to 1. And I was like, what the heck? I don't sleep this long. And I think I went to sleep at like maybe 11 or 12. And then like, I was like, I can't do anything. And then went back to sleep while Chris got us food. We watched some TV and then I went to sleep on the couch until like almost 6 o'clock. I've just been like my sleep schedule is insane. But so that means that today, Sunday, I was actually awake and whatnot, since my body was like, please, we need the rest. So I went out with one of my coworkers and we went plant shopping and hung out today. That was really nice. To just be able to be like, oh, I'm not stuck at the house sleeping all day. So I got new plants, is what I'm trying to say. So, of course, that made me happy.
Cool.
To add to the other 40 something that are all sitting right in front of my face because all of my plants are in one spot. It's crazy. Anyways, how about you, Mark? What's made you happy this week?
It's kind of a piggyback off of last week, and that is my new 3D printer. It has
Whoop, whoop.
been so much fun playing with this thing. I made a very big order of filament to start printing out multicolored things and fun things and just really start going ham because I'm starting to run low because I think I've printed more in the past week than I have in the last month because I can do it so much faster and it's awesome. But the order didn't come today, thanks to the big CrowdStrike software outage that happened a couple days ago. Pretty sure that's what happened.
Yeah.
Delayed my stuff by a day. So hopefully I get it tomorrow. But anyway, no, I've been printing stuff and it's been fun and just it's like having a kind of a new what's the best way to put this? To be able to get back into this hobby and try, well, I don't want to say get back into it because I wasn't never really out. But
this is your new hyperfixation.
Right. To get into it even more and to say, hey, I want to do this and then get done with things even faster. You know, to say, I want to see how this works and then print it and it's done in an hour instead of 2 or 3 or whatever. It's great. So much fun. And hopefully by next week, I have something cool to post up on our Twitters because I can't wait to show everybody what I'm planning on printing. So,
Gasp.
it's a surprise.
Nice.
So.
Well, good. I'm glad you're happy with it.
Yeah.
I know how you like your 3D printing stuff.
I'm still surprised that it was the hobby that I got into that I'm still into. I'm very, very, very much the guy to be like, hey, I'm going to get into this hobby and I'll be laser focused on it for 3 to 6 months and then never touch it again. And for me to, 3-4 years later, go out and spend an exuberant amount of money on a brand new printer is wild to me that this is my thing. So.
Nice. Dude, that's so nice, though, because I feel like I try to get to little hobby things. I finally realized that I definitely have ADD, and because I definitely am not the hyper type, but I looked into our spare closet, which is where I keep like all my craft stuff, and there are so many craft things that I started and never freaking finished. It's insane. Like I look at it and I'm like, dude, you need to get help. Stop buying stuff. I just keep buying yarn and paints and I'm like, what are you going to do with these? You're not going to do anything. I've got a bunch of plants that are sitting without planters right now. That's kind of why I went planting today, so I could buy some planters and then I bought 2 more plants. That's the circle of life, boys and girls. At least in my head.
All right.
But you guys, go like, rate, review, subscribe, do all the things of the podcast. Wherever you listen to. If you listen to it on the Spotify, are we on Apple Podcasts?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I don't know where we are. We're on a lot of things. You guys like us over at YouTube. You definitely like our Fast and Furious stuff.
Yeah.
Y'all go crazy over that.
Yeah, we are too fast and too furious.
We're the fastest, furious-est fastest podcast around. You can follow our fun little podcast over on whatever social medias you feel like. We got it at Nerd for No Reason. It's cute. It's fun. Give us a follow. Say hey, what's up if you want to.
Oh yeah.
Please and thank you.
So you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and what's the other one?
Threads?
Threads? Yeah. Blue Sky at
Are
Turtles
you on
Do
that
It.
thing?
Yeah.
I think you also have your TikTok on there.
Yeah.
Although, I know you haven't been on there in a hot minute.
I ain't been on there in a hot minute.
Dude, you gotta get your printing stuff back up on there.
Yeah, I know. Well, I was waiting on this big order of filament.
That's fair.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Raven, did you say where they can find you or just the show?
I just said the show.
Oh, well, where can they find you?
Just in the big sky, in the Twitter universe
just floating
of
around?
Spooky_Raven.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's all I really am. I just go on Twitter and I'll wake up at 3 a.m. and be on there until it's time to go to the gym and then get ready and go to the work.
Yeah, I get messages from you on Twitter at weird hours in the morning. I'm like, what are you doing awake?
Dude, I see you on there at 4 a.m. because you read something and I'm like, what are you doing awake?
Yeah, usually those are bad days because the dogs wake me up and I'm like,
Oh, never fun.
Yeah.
Never fun.
All right. Well, everybody, thanks so much for listening to the show this week. We love y'all. I'm so glad you're listening with us. You're enjoying the show with us. Yeah, go and do something wonderful in the world today.
You guys go ingest all the coolest, rarest, newest, truest
Amen.
medias, and we'll see you again next week on the Nerd for No Reason podcast.
All right, hold on before
Goodbye.
Hold on before we sign off. We have a very
No.
special guest. She wants to say something. Go ahead.
Bye, nerds!
All right, this time don't yell directly into the mic. Stand back here and say it, because I think you just blew Raven's ears out. So stand back here.
Bro,
and
she
say
sounded like a robot.
Stand back here. We're not dealing with sophisticated equipment. Right here. Say it again. Try it again. 3, 2, 1.
Bye, nerds!
Okay. Cool. Goodbye, everybody.
Atta girl.
Thank you for listening to the Nerd for No Reason podcast. You can find us on all major social media platforms at Nerd for No Reason. Our podcast music is Memories in 8-Bit by Deanna Joan, aka Fergie's Human. You can follow her on Twitter at Deanna Joan Music and check out her other social media links in the show notes of our podcast.